Welcome back to Hot Movies. Today I will recap you erotic drama movie, named The Dreamers. The film starts off with a young boy named Mathew, who is an American and now has moved to Paris to study French in 1968. One day some students protested when conflicts arose between the French government and students. Here Mathew meets Isabelle for the first time. "I've seen you around before," Isabelle says, "and you're worried about being alone, and never speak to anyone." Then Mathew adds, "I'm from America. I don't know anyone here, neither do I have any friends." Mathew is introduced to Isabelle's brother Theo. Theo and Isabelle are identical twins. These three folks are huge movie enthusiasts, which is why they became friends. Soon, the cops arrive, and everyone begins to run. These three have much to say on their way home. Mathew was ecstatic because he had made new friends. Isabelle and Theo share their meal with Mathew, and their bond becomes stronger as a result. After reaching the hotel, Mathew wrote a letter to his mother in which he tells her of Isabelle and Theo. The next morning, Theo asks him to dine at his house. After he sees their house, Mathew is astounded. Mathew gets to meet their mother, she is ecstatic, and Isabelle proceeds to introduce him to her father at the dinner table. Their father is a renowned French novelist, and while father was giving a speech on literature, poetry, and inspiration, Mathew became sidetracked by Isabelle's letter. That's why Theo's father is furious with Mathew. Then Mathew remarks, "Have you ever noticed how perfectly the tablecloth suits this lighter? Its shape complements the rest of the things in this area in an interesting way." He later apologized to Isabelle's father, and says, "I believe there is a similarity in everything in this world, which he learned today." Their father is astounded by everything, and is very interested in Mathew. He expresses his desire for Theo to be like this. Actually, Theo and his father differ. Theo has wholeheartedly adopted politics and desires freedom, thus he supports protests and riots. Their father is calm, and prefers silence, at the dinner table. The father and son are arguing, and the situation is being handled by Theo's mother. Both are leaving the following morning for a few days of work, therefore he leaves the check to Theo and Isabelle. They both request Mathew to stay the night at their place. Theo shows him his room. Around midnight Mathew goes to the restroom and then discovers Theo's room door is open. On his way back into the room, Theo and Isabelle had slept alongside, and were both naked. It is uncommon to see twins in this condition. He goes back to his room, and sleeps. In the morning Theo's mother and father leave the house, and Isabella wakes up Mathew. Mathew is embarrassed to see her, because he is only in his underwear. Isabelle coerces him into telling him to get out of the horrible situation, as quickly as possible. Isabelle then began massaging his lips while he was brushing his teeth. Isabelle loved him because his lips were vivid red, and she went to apply lipstick on him. When Mathew notices this, he rushes away, but Theo stops him, strips naked in front of Isabelle, and starts showering, which Mathew finds rather awkward. "Because our parents aren't coming for another month, you'll be remaining with us." Mathew says, "You only met me 2 days ago, and have no idea who I am." According to Theo, "I'm merely asking you to stay with us so that we may properly get to know you." Then Mathew asks Isabelle whether she has any problems. Isabelle asserts that this was her idea. Mathew will be living with them from now on because he and Theo had a fight about Charlie Chaplin. Then Isabelle appears and instructs them on how to behave. This is a game that Theo and Isabelle frequently play, in which they act out a scene from an old movie. If the person in front of him is unable to answer the title of the movie, he must dare. This movie scene was performed by Isabelle in an older film. But then Mathew cites the title of the movie, and both of them are shocked, saying, "For so long both of us have been looking for a friend like you to have a dare." Basically, they both want to replicate an old movie scene in real life. It's a scenario in which three buddies race in an art gallery, each breaking their own record. Mathew initially refuses because he will be deported if he is caught, but then accepts. Then all three broke the previous record. It began to rain as they drove home, and all of them were wet. Theo leads him to his room, hands him some clothes, and begins dressing in front of him. When he goes to fetch a drink, Mathew discovers photographs of Isabelle in his closet. He inserts Isabelle's photograph into his underpants. When Theo returns with a drink, Isabelle arrives and continues playing the same game. This is demonstrated through her performance of a scene act. But if Theo can't recall the title of the movie, Isabelle challenges him to masturbate in front of everyone after seeing a snapshot. Theo and Mathew are conversing at the same cafe on the same day. Mathew claims that he must have elder sisters as well. Those guys never ask him to masturbate in front of them. He says that he has seen both of them sleeping in the same bed, while naked, and wonders what is going on between the two. Theo then claims that we are both twins who were connected at birth, that we have distinct bodies, but that we are one in our brains, and cannot exist apart. Following that, we see Theo show to them both by doing an act, but none of them recognize the title of the movie, so Theo dares them to get intimate in front of him. Isabelle agrees and starts stripping naked, in front of them both. Mathew, on the other hand, disagrees, but when Isabelle presses him, he accepts. When Isabelle's photo was discovered within his underpants, they both burst out laughing. They both get intimate for the first time in front of Theo. And Theo proceeds to prepare lunch. Isabelle is still a virgin at this point, as we can see. Theo and Isabelle do nothing but sleep together. Mathew asks what you would do when your parents found out about you and Theo. Isabelle states in such situation that this will never occur, and that if it does happen by chance, she will kill herself. Isabelle does not want her parents to know about her, and Theo, because society will never accept twins in this condition, and they both adore their parents. As a result, they do not want society to mock him. Theo comes and takes a place near Isabelle, as Mathew goes to the kitchen to get some lunch. Theo is then informed by Mathew that he has begun to consider himself as an offshoot of Isabelle and Theo. However, Theo clarifies that he and Isabelle are the same entity, and that no one can get in their way. Mathew is simply a pretty good guy with whom we will always be friends. Within a few days, they had blown all of the money that his father had given them. Isabelle cooks dinner with what's left in the house, but it's disgusting and no one will eat it. Theo then goes to fetch something from the garbage can and discovers a banana. All three share and devour the same banana. These three undertake small jobs in order to cover household expenses. One day, these three were taking a bath together, and Theo and Mathew had a talk about how Americans are also at war in Vietnam, shooting civilians and children, and setting fire to their farms. Because Theo is offended by everything, he blames all Americans. According to Mathew, the government forces us to go to battle and threatens us with arrest if we do not. My entire group of friends has gone to war, and I feel myself lucky to have been able to depart America and enroll in this university. Mathew is suspicious of his assertions. He believes that the same issue may be calmly and methodically protested. Isabelle comes to a stop and asks Mathew if he can produce proof that he likes both of us. What kind of proof do you require? Mathew asks. Mathew becomes outraged when the two begin shaving his pubic hair together. He no longer permits them to shave and says them that while their bodies have matured, their minds are still that of children. They both sleep and bathe together, just like kids. This is a game for you both, yet neither of you will ever be grown enough to play it. He asks Isabelle if she has ever gone on a date with a boy, to which she responds that she has never dated any other boy but Theo. Mathew asks her out on a date as well, and the two of them go out to eat and watch a movie. When they come home, they find Theo in his room with a girl having sex. Isabelle becomes disturbed when she hears his voice, while the intimacy act. She is jealous and asks Mathew leave her room. Theo and Mathew were arguing once more. The next day, Theo was discussing the revolt. He claims that you never go out and protest, that nothing matches talking about such an important problem, and that you must choose a way. Everyone must get out and join the revolution. When Isabelle comes and guides them to the drawing room, he remembers how they used to build such tents as youngsters and sleep within them. Their parents return in the morning, while they are all sleeping inside this tent. Inside the tent, they discovered all three of them naked. He does not wake them up, but instead writes them a check, sets it on the table, and departs. When Isabelle wakes up, she discovers the check. She notices his mother and father have arrived and believes she will never see her parents again. She tries to commit suicide by releasing the gas and lie. Meanwhile, there is a revolution on the street, and Mathew gets up after a stone falls out of it, after the glass smashes. When Mathew asks what the scent is, Isabelle says it's the gas. The three then became involved in the movement. Theo has also begun throwing stones at cops, and some of these individuals meant to throw bombs at police. Theo agrees with them and Mathew attempts to stop him, but Theo dismisses him. Isabelle joins him, but Mathew is unable to participate in any of this, so he departs. Then the cops deployed a stick charge against the mob, and movie ends here. Let me know what you all think in the comments section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss the next recap.